everyone, and welcome to the second episode of our September series, Leading from the Library. I'm Heather Worrell, the Executive Administrator of Digital Innovation here in JCPS, and also I'm the Library Media Specialist Liaison for KDE. I am so excited to be joined by our awesome women who make up the Kentucky Go Digital Live host team. We have Brooke Whitlow, the Community and School Media Coordinator for Nelson County Schools, Courtney DeRossett, the CIO and Director of Federal Programs for Floyd County Schools, Elaine Abernathy, our new digital innovation leader here in JCPS, and our newest addition to the Kentucky Go Digital Live host team, now representing Western Kentucky, the one and only Miss Whitney York, who's the Technology Integration Specialist for Murray Independent. And last not least, we have our fabulous Chief Digital Officer for the Kentucky Department of Education, the one and only Dr. Marty Park is in the house. Hello, everyone. It's great to see you. How are you?
So excited to be here. Welcome to, especially to Whitney this morning, her first live show behind the camera. I was so excited about this episode today with Dr. Lynn and Janet and your team there at JCPS. So I can't wait to get started.
Well, we're all excited.
We are.
All of you. I can't wait to talk about our magical librarians and the love that we have for it.
All right. So great to see everyone. And now let's talk about our special guests. You just heard from Dr. LYNN Reynolds and her partner, Janet Lanham. As you know, our September series is called Leading from the Library, and these two remarkable Kentucky Library Media Specialists are doing just that. Dr. LYNN Reynolds is the Director of Library Media Services for Jefferson County Public Schools. She is a former elementary school teacher, elementary school librarian, a high school librarian, and let me just say that she is one of my absolute favorite people on this planet. Her enthusiasm, passion, and style are second to none. She is joined by Janet Lanham, who is the instructional resource librarian for Jefferson County Public Schools. Janet is a former elementary school teacher, elementary school librarian, and this is her 41st year in education. Can we just give Janet some love?
Yay, Janet!
I need it. Yay, Janet. So hi, ladies. We are so glad that you are sharing how you are leading from the library on today's show. Just a little side note that Brooke and Courtney will be taking questions along with Whitney from the YouTube live chat. So make sure if you are viewing today's live show that you pose any questions or comments that you have in the live chat. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel as well. All right, now over to our special guests, Dr. Lynn and Janet. Take it away.
Well, hello, everybody. I am really glad to be here. Thank you, Heather, for inviting us and giving us this presence. You have, upon arriving to JCPS, you have put the librarians in front so much faster than I could have done it on my own. So this is a team effort. And thank you all for your kind words. I appreciate the welcome. We at the think tank, I think some of you heard me say that when I took this job, and I'm a little nerdy, so I'll tell you it's day 215, and I haven't been here a year yet. I started November, the Thanksgiving week, but it's day 215. So I realized early on that we were behind the rest of the state. As I choke, as I say that. And when it came specifically to the digital transformation, and I realized also we had not joined the rest of the state with the Future Ready initiative. So I knew that we needed to do something. And what I realized also is that we had been there. We're like a hidden horse. We had been there all along, but we are like that hidden gem, and we've had some high flyers and all of that, but we hadn't had this presence, and I knew that we needed to get started and get moving. So after coming on board and learning that I didn't know what I knew or didn't know what I didn't know, my leadership team, which consists of Janet as one of them, and I have several other people on the team, I realized that we needed a theme for the year. I realized that really while we were behind, we had always been leading in specialized professional learning. And as me being a librarian here for the last 11 years, I knew that I got good training every year. So I realized that the door was already open for that. I don't know what's happening, but okay. I'm going to let Janet take that apart, tell you about our training and what we do. I want you to know that, we are geared up and ready to go. Janet?
Yes, I was trying to get our slides up there to show your theme.
Oh, yeah.
We have done for at least 20 years a 3-day Librarian Summer Institute. We do that in June, pretty much right after school closes. And we always come up with a theme and a focus because we have almost 140 school librarians. So you can imagine trying to get everybody on the same page in the district. So the Institute really is that vehicle for us. And we spend our 3 days at 6 hours. So it's 18 hours of PD credit for the librarians, professional learning credit. And then we have our librarians present. We bring in state level presenters. Sometimes we have national speakers. But it's free for the librarians here in JCPS. And then we follow that up with a 4th day in August, right before school starts, where we have the librarians' annual retreat. And so what that does is everything that they've learned in June and been exposed to, they sort of have the summer to percolate and start thinking about it and how they're going to implement it. And then we bring them all back together in August for another day that gets them their 24 hours of professional learning. But it helps us roll out from all of our initiatives that we present in June, and then we tie it up with a bow in August where we've seen gaps or where we've had questions. We were able to fill that in and then get everybody fired up and excited to launch the school year with whatever new learning we're trying to implement.
So this year, as we were brainstorming, I always like a theme, and a theme gets us motivated and centered and focused. And so I wanted everybody to get on board. I'm brand new, and I felt like it was time. And usually when a new person comes on, someone will get on track. So I thought we should use the train theme or getting on board so that everybody would just catch on. And with that, we just ran with it. In our main session, we had individual sessions that tied to the 10 to future ready components. And in that big session, we launched our goal for the year, which was the Future Ready initiative. We knew that everyone wasn't going to be able to do all 10 components, but we also knew that if they started assessing where they were in certain components, that we would, really catapult them where they needed to be. And so one of the moments that I really liked for the Future Ready was because I'm a bit of a sequential person, kind of type A, if you hadn't figured that out. I'm really middle brain, so I can go either way, but it's my dominant to be kind of type A. And I needed something to go through this librarianship so that I could help my librarians latch on to where we were going. Because as you know, in education, we kind of do 20 different initiatives all at once. And our librarians are like, I'm not being part of that. I'm not doing that. And so I didn't want that. I wanted them to have something that they could feel was tangible and doable. So that's how we got to the Future Ready initiative, because the AASL standards were starting, new ones were rolling out, and now there's a crosswalk, with the Future Ready initiative. It makes sense in this digital world that we're in now. So we're not, disconnected. I think that all we are doing is doing what we're supposed to do. That's what I think. Janet?
So one of the things we did was have a little bit of a history lesson for all of the librarians about how we got to this point with the Future Ready, because once we decided that we were going to hang our hats on the Future Ready initiative, and it is a perfect fit. It's a perfect fit with our new AASL standards. It's a perfect fit with ISTE standards. And so it could be a central organizing theme. So we walked them back to the first time that we heard about actually at our 2013 Institute, we were working, we always try to update the librarians on everything we're hearing. And that was when everybody was talking about big data. And big data was coming into the education field big time. And it was being mined and used. And the first time we saw anything was like in October 2012, where there was the Digital Learning Now and Getting Smart, and they released their data backpacks and learner profiles. And it was on the Powering Personalization infographic, because what the big data did was allow everyone to begin to personalize education for their students once you had that sort of data. So that was re-released. The second version was re-released in 2015. And then at the same time, sort of, President Obama in 2013 came out with the Connect Ed movement, which was the goal was to get everyone, all students, access to broadband, 99% of students access to broadband, and to address the need for more professional learning for educators to become more comfortable and proficient with integrating technology into education. So all of that produced the Future Ready Pledge that came out in 2014. And with that, we in JCPS at least, and I think in a lot of the state, we met the goal, which was by 2020 to have the 99%. We met it in JCPS in 2018. And so then the Alliance for Excellent Education launched its Future Ready Schools, and then AASL partnered with them in 2016 to come out with the Future Librarians Framework. So it all kind of pulled together for us. And when we give that kind of information to our librarians, it's helpful because we're all on the same page. We're all ready to jump on board the LMS Express for Future Ready, and we have the buy-in that we need. We understand our place in all of this.
So can I just add real quick?
Yes.
So that was like, I'm already planning. I've looked at the clock here to take this snippet and cut it out and replay it and reuse it. So Janet and Dr. Reynolds, perfect. I think that's just a perfect timeline, kind of exploration of, you know, where we've been over the last 5 years and how everything is actually stitching together really nicely. And the other thing I'd like to add and ask a question on, you know, before you get on board, before you jump on a train, you actually have to buy a ticket usually, right? So that's the right way to do that. As opposed to just running and hopping on, which I still think looks pretty fun. Never done it. But so to explicitly make that decision to buy a ticket, that is something that I think it sounds like, and just listening to Dr. Reynolds and Janet yourself a couple times, getting folks to want to buy the ticket. Number one, I think you're stitching things together that are very clearly defining, and they make sense for our leaders from the library. But now what's your next step is something I think is fascinating to make sure that ticket's bought and then fully on board.
Well, I don't know if we can show those slides. I was having a little trouble here from my version, but we actually had a ticket for the librarians at our institute. And they had to go around these Conver-Stations, which were trifolds, and each one had a guiding question, a QR code for them to upload their comments. And so they literally punched their ticket as they visited each Conver-Station. And out of that, they developed, they participated in a SWOT analysis of their skill set moving into implementing the Future Ready. And then they each had a goal sheet for each one of the components. So they set their goals for this year, and they are working in their PLCs to begin to do that work. So we're already seeing great things from our librarians.
Janet, can you show your slides a bit just to give that visual? It may help. And then I will try to respond to Dr. Marty Park, will you just call me Lynn? Okay. Can you show your slides?
I am working on it. Hang on.
So ladies, while they're sharing slides, what are you seeing out there on the YouTube live chat? Can somebody chime in with and give some shout outs to some people who are viewing? Whitney, what are you seeing out there? What's the conversation like?
Lots of good people have joined in on the YouTube chat. I'm seeing some familiar names, Donna Morris, Susan Vincent, some people I've heard. And, you know, I think what's really interesting about what you're saying, I'm trying to scale down JCPS to Murray Independent. And I think I can. And so I'm loving all the conversations going on, because I think we can take little nuggets of all of this into whatever systems we have in our schools. I don't have librarians that can meet in a PLC, but maybe they can join in on this chat, or maybe they can find other librarians in other places and connect. So I think that that's really great. I'm loving seeing all the different types of people, not just librarians, that are out here chatting too.
Let's see. Oh, one thing we did we were kind of happy with was when we had our institute. One of the things at that time, the Future Ready did not have literacy, and since our institute, they've added that circle. So here's our ticket that the librarians punched, and we had a web mix with all of the resources for each of the sessions, because each one of the sessions was tied to a different component of Future Ready. And we also had, we're transitioning all of this into a Google folder. We had it, this is our link to our Google folder there. And we just, here's one of our Conver-Stations. So it would have, and I borrowed some of this from Amanda Hurley with her rollout, but we would have the goal in the middle, the guiding questions. The librarians would be able to post there or post to the QR code that was part of each Conver-Station. And these were the QR codes. They were specialized. This is what it would lead them to, a Google Doc, where they would share ways and ideas of how they were implementing that particular Future Ready component. We had some Post-its for them that they could share out. And this is a sample of our librarians going through each one of the stations at the Institute. And here was their SWOT analysis that they did to be able to identify where their strengths and weaknesses and opportunities for implementing. And this was their goal sheet that they are working on. And then it led into our professional learning for the JCPS librarians. So,
is anyone else blown away? I mean, are we all just sitting here like, Courtney, Brooke, what are you guys thinking?
I just like the expectation that, because oftentimes you hear of, if you're not a core content teacher, you know, the plan, what you have laid out for them is the expectation that they will be a huge part of their school, of their student success, of the future. The plan that you laid out with using Future Ready, and it's not separate, and you're showing the alignment, it just connects everything. That's the way it's supposed to be. That's how we're supposed to work, not just with digital tools, but in reality. So kudos to you all putting the pre-planning ahead so that you have this type of results and this type of program. Yeah, I'm blown away, Heather. Yeah.
Well, let me add here. I think, Marty Park, I want to respond to your question or statement. How are we stitching it together? And how did we get, we had to buy a ticket. First, I'm coming from the library, just recently, and they know me as a librarian. So they feel like I am not a top-down person trying to tell them one more thing to do. So I think that's why we had early buy-in. But more importantly, I wanted it to be where it was something that was aligned with the district initiatives. I wanted us to have a backpack, and I wanted us to stay on focus for a backpack of skills. And in those skills, it was the Future Ready initiative. It was the ASL. It was deeper learning, 4 things that I wanted us to do. And I think that for the most part, our librarians were able to buy into it really quickly because they were already doing most of those things. They already feel connected to standards. They already feel connected to the deeper learning that's been going
beyond
on
proficiency.
for a while. Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Well, and they're also connected to beyond proficiency. Those weren't things we needed to hit. And we, like Lynn said, we were behind the state as far as following the Future Ready. And we had thought initially we were just going to go with our ASL as our focus. but Future Ready is so much easier to plug everything else into, and they're all a perfect fit.
I noticed last week when we met as a think tank and kind of came together with some Library Media Center specialist leaders and enthusiasts around the state, one of the things that was said by Emily Northcutt is that she would really appreciate having those types of expectations and directions from district level leadership. And she's like, we just need a plan, a vision. And she was really excited about the fact that district level leaders like yourselves are kind of outlining the roadmap, right, for the impact of the library media specialist work in the district. So I think you guys have done a brilliant job of coming up with a solid, cohesive game plan that aligns all those components together. And I really think a lot of library media specialists are hungry for a vision, and that's what you've given your team. And I think people, when they can see the vision and they know that you're organized and you've planned and you have those components of culture with the train and that really funny little person of don't throw mama from the train, having fun with your culture and your vision building helps that buy-in, right? So that would be my comment.
Yes,
Well,
it does.
We were fortunate too at the Institute. We were able to give every librarian a copy of the new AASL standards book, which is over $100. So that piece gave them a lot more confidence with their standards as well. So we can focus on the future ready.
And I can tell you, I want to tell you a little bit about our department. I mean, you know, it's a department that it's kind of a hidden figure in its sense. Last year alone, we processed over 65,000 books. This summer alone, I purchased breakout EDU kits for every school. One of our pillars in the district is racial equity policy that we are promoting, and we purchased culturally responsive books for every school in the district. So trying to be intentional about giving the schools the things that they need so that they can do the job that they need to do, so that we are, you know, eliminating barriers. Because really when I was at the think tank the other day, what I heard, Murray Independent, bless your soul, I was really in shock in that, you know, one librarian was covering 3 schools or whatever. And it made me feel wonderful and blessed, but also I'm always like, oh, we got to do something to help. And even when it came to Oldham County, you know, our professional learning is, yes, it's for JCPS, but as we launch and move, we want librarianship to be stable because it is the best classroom in the school. We reach and touch every kid. You know, we form relationships with, it may not be about the book. You know, I love the statement, it's not about getting the book back, it's about bringing the kid back to get the book. You know, and I love that our libraries are places where they just want to hang out and play Jenga and just socialize and learn. So I think we have to remember that when I went to library school in 2003, and I'm aging myself now, but when I went in 2003, 2004, I went to school for a different library to get to run a different kind of library than it is today. The library before was about finding information that couldn't be easily found, and that librarian was the expert on finding it. Well, today we're in information overload, and everybody has information at their fingertips instantly, but they do not know how to curate it. They do not know how to organize it. They do not know
evaluate it.
They do not know how to do that. So it's our job. And we are on, I loved Dr. Marty Park's slide the other day when he showed the trends, but he also showed where we were as a state. And I'm one of those that wants to be the leader. I want us to be the best. And, you know, you don't have to reinvent the wheel, but we can definitely put some good oil on the wheel to keep it running. Well, I'm like, okay, if librarians, if we're in this great time to make a new role for librarians, we have the power to do that. One, we have 155 libraries going on in this district. We have some big namers like Christina Block, Jennifer Cook. I mean, what's her name? Cindy Hundley and Amy Baker. And I mean, I could go on, and I don't want to leave anybody out, but they are kicking butt and taking names. They are so much more a better librarian than I ever was. And they are the leaders. They are the ones that's going to change that image of a library is quiet and a bun and all of that. So I'm excited for this time.
You like a hair bun?
I know. Oh, Heather, you're the librarian today. But you're a cute librarian. Anyway, I think, the Job 2030 list says that librarians are going to be one of the top 10 jobs to have in 2030. That's 11 years from now. So, or 12. But I mean, we have to make sure that at that standard. And I think my goal is to set it in JCPS.
Can I get an hallelujah from the
Hallelujah?
Well, I was going to say that's actually just to jump in, and I was on mute, thankfully, because I was giving some amens, and that's our goal in Kentucky. I mean, and you've the way you've laid it out for JCPS is well defined. In the way you just spoke to, your visions in JPS, and that's Kentucky. I mean, we always, as a state, we do things a bit differently. We scale way faster than a lot of other states, and we have national models, and that's something I'm excited about. And was excited about today's show and last week's show, is to further highlight and celebrate what we're doing in Kentucky, and then what are the next steps that we're going to take in order to continue. And as I've shared before, the national trend for school librarians, it doesn't look good. But in Kentucky, that's not us. And I want to continue to move forward to create that national model and celebrate it and continue to, I always think about rates of acceleration. And I believe that our leaders from the library are one of our key points, as well as our school leaders. And, our rate of acceleration being way faster than other states. And I love other states. They're cool, but not as cool as us. And so, so I just can't be more excited for the show today, for you all sharing, and, last week's show, to continue to pull together our leaders. And because we do have some school districts that are just knocking it out of the park with, defining what libraries look like. For our students, and I've shared a couple times, and I'll keep sharing. But my librarian, as a new teacher, was my best collaborator. Helped teach me how to teach, and I expect that for all of our teachers across the state, all of our new teachers, all of our experienced teachers. My librarian was the one person in the school that helped get more resources to my students than anybody else. I couldn't have been a good teacher without my librarian. And so I lean on that quite a bit. And then additionally, I have a daughter who has a vision as a future ready librarian. And so, yeah. And I just can't be more excited than what we have the opportunity to explore and then reimagine. So thank you definitely for sharing and continuing to do work that we're going to be able to scale all the way across the state.
All right, y'all. So I've been quiet because, this is not my realm. So I've just been sitting here soaking it all up and learning from you guys. But we have some good conversations going on in the live chat. So Kelly Reno, Kelly, aren't you proud? All right. So she's talking about, librarians and leaders who are retiring and whether or not those positions will be rehired. And so she asked a really good question. And says, aside from showing everyone I can this video, how do we begin advocating for the need for clear visioning and leadership for our district librarians? So who's going to take that question for Kelly?
Well, I think KLA and KASL, the Kentucky Association of School Librarians, is a great resource and has a lot of information to share and have people who are willing to come out to those districts. And they are a real unifying source in the district, as well as KDE. I know that as far as new people, because Marty was talking about new librarians, they have a mentor program. So if you have someone new in your district who is a singleton, maybe there are no other school librarians, they're sharing 3 schools and they're on their own, they can be paired up with a mentor through KLA and Castle that can work with them virtually, can plan to meet regularly. I've done it in the past with 3 or 4 different librarians across the state. So there are resources out there to keep everybody kind of on message and on point. But I think probably too, being active with your local association and being active on Twitter, because the KYL chat, that is a whole community of support, and they are very on point. And those are some super strong leaders statewide. So I would connect with those people too.
I'll jump in also, Brooke, on that, and I'll ask Heather to jump in, because I know that at the Kentucky Department of Education, we are taking this responsibility extremely seriously. And to pay celebration to folks before us, our previous leaders, a lot of folks know Kathy Mansfield as a great library leader, and she's awesome. And we hated to see her. I know she's having a lot of fun in retirement. We hated to see her go. So definitely celebrate her. And I'll say that responsibility from a Kentucky Department of Education perspective is one that I jumped up and down to help with and to take care of. And thankfully, we have awesome folks like Heather who are amazing leaders that can help all the way across the state from a statewide perspective. Because I think Kelly's question is spot on in that, what are we going to do as a state? That's the lens I look through. What are we going to do as a state to continue to move the work forward? And so Heather, jump in and share, because I think that's just an awesome question, and one that I jump up and down for to help take care of.
Yeah, I think it's a really exciting time here in Kentucky. I know last week we brought a lot of people that are very passionate about this work to the table together as a first step, and thinking about how do we continue to advocate for library media specialists across Kentucky and all kind of adhere to a common vision for our work, and how are we going to continue to impact students and really create these innovation hubs for reading and learning and innovating in our schools. And so, to the table and having these conversations. But so we are starting to kind of think through that and develop a game plan and vision for the future. So we're really excited about that. And I just want to say how lucky we are to have Dr. Marty Park as our advocate. And he truly is, as you heard him speak about his former library media specialist when he was a teacher, he truly believes in the power of library media specialists to really help support teaching and learning and innovating in our schools. And we're so lucky to have his leadership. So just a moment to shout out Marty. Thanks for taking us under your wing, Marty, and advocating for us. And we're so honored to have your leadership on this front. And you've made Kentucky one of the best states on so many other levels. So we're excited to have your leadership on the LMS front too. So shout out to you.
And if I may add to that Brooke's question, because I felt when we got here that we might have been on the verge of elimination also. I'm not real sure that, it's still not out there, but I think you really have to do a true assessment. So what I would say in the district is really assess where you are with the principals and project your strong library leaders, put them out there, Twitter, like Janet said, so that they get seen. There's some marketing going on. But I would say really do an analysis, and it's painful sometimes to look at, but I think you can really never really fix or grow something until you really know where you are. And so that person that asked that question, I would absolutely just do an analysis, find what your strengths are, see where your leaders are, and bring them to the table. That was one thing that I did when I got here. I, I created a council, an advisory council, where we couldn't really meet all together, but they were the high flyers out in the district, and they were the ones that were doing what needed to be done. So I wanted to hear from them, and then they would tell me what they wanted. And I think that's what you can do in your district, that if they're not hiring positions, and let me just tell you, every department, every district is suffering that right now because of funds. So it's just normal. But if you are relevant and if you show it, create a proposal of here's where we're going, and if you give me 3 to 5 years, I can help us get there, that's going to tell your superintendent, your leaders, your chiefs, whoever's in charge of you, that's going to do more, because they really don't want to do work. They want you to do it, show them how that you're going to do it, and not cost them any more money. I'm just keeping it real.
We have a little bit of talk on the chat, and James Allen spoke up because we are not. There's more districts, I think, feeling the burden of not having that support. I know, Whitney, when you talked about Murray, I'm in the same situation. We have one person that services 7 schools. So, and so we are on the channel talking about how do you help them? Who's the person that speaks up and educates the administrators on the need for that site-based allocation? Because if people are not educated on the need, then sometimes that's where the slip is. So James Allen spoke up and said, he was talking to Kelly and myself, and said that Angie White in Oldham County, she is kind of the leading force for their district on the importance of librarians and a media specialist. And so I was like, what's her role? He was like, I think she's like co-CIO. Well, that people at the leadership district level, we've got to get out there and educate our principals on what you were talking about earlier. It's not like it was then. Information's out there, but if we don't teach people how to use it, library is not my specialty, but it needs to be, and we need to get this in the schools. So thank you to James and Angie White in Oldham County. Brooke said to make sure we gave her a shout out because she's pretty strong and can give some tips if you're district personnel watching this show, to try to get principals to see the light.
I like that.
All right. So I think this has been a very powerful show. I think our viewers and the people that watch on demand will be very excited to learn about your future ready strategy. I know Dr. Park said he's going to take advantage of the power of pause and rewind and go back and watch a little bit of that. Janet, let me just say, your stuff. Wow. Blew me away with the history lesson of things.
Remember the 41 years part? That's where that comes from.
So viewers, please, Janet and Lynn are 2 of the warmest, most generous people I know. Please reach out to them if you have questions or need support. Anything else that anyone would like to contribute before we sign off? Dr. Park, anything else?
I will say there's an awesome Gale case study on school librarians being agents of change. That was shared to us, Heather, and through conversation by Emily Northcutt. And it's a very relevant, recent case study. And I would just throw that out there to go check it out from an agent of change perspective and a marketing perspective. And we always say getting at the leadership table or getting to the big table, because I believe, and something that we'll continue to push for in a school leadership design, is the library leader, the school librarian, being at that leadership table as somebody who has the largest, best classroom in the school, as somebody who sees every teacher and every student and works with and collaborates and helps build learning design and learning experiences for everybody, needs to be at that leadership table. And this case study, this new September case study, is pretty great. It's a pretty great touch point that does absolutely stitch into the Future Ready framework and some standards, whether ASL or ISTE. So I just wanted to share that, because it's one that I've dug into pretty quickly.
That's great. Yeah, that case study is very, very powerful. And just any district leader, speaking of getting a seat at the leadership table, that was always very important to me when I was a library media specialist. I said, I'm the leader of a program, one of the most powerful programs in our school. And so I advocated for my seat at the table. And I encourage all of you to do so as well. I know now that I'm at the district level, I've advocated for our library media specialists to really be the leaders at the tip of the spear on our JCPS backpack initiative. They are really leading the charge with this really movement across our district. And they have, many of them said how grateful they are to have a seat at that table with such a major district initiative. And we could not have done that without the support and belief of this work by Dr. LYNN and Janet and their remarkable team. So district level leaders, how can you better leverage your library media specialists, create a vision with them, and really leverage them to lead change in your district? So great show, everyone. Any final words? Janet, I think you unmuted. Did you want to add anything before we close out the show? Dr. LYNN?
That when you and Dr. Smith shared that message about the role of librarians at our institute, they brought the roof down. They got a standing ovation. So it's very much appreciated here.
Yay!
And I want to add, I mean, I have a good leader right now, Dr. Felicia Smith, who believes in libraries, who believes that literacy and all literacies, not just reading literacy, comes from the library. So I am just engaged, enthusiastic, energized, ready to move from where we are to where we're going to go. And I am so glad to know all of you today. I'm so thankful. Thank you, Heather, for this opportunity. And JCPS LMSs rock.
Yes, they do. All right. Well, thanks everyone for an awesome show. Courtney, Brooke, Elaine, Whitney, how can our audience continue to stay connected to Kentucky Go Digital?
First, of course, receive on-demand links right here at KentuckyGoDigital.com for any type of on-demand. If you want to look at systems of efficiency, different types of tools, just click the subscribe button and tune in to our shows.
All right.
And I think Brooke has gone out, so I'll say that there is a Kentucky Go Digital Facebook page, which is one of my favorite places. I loved the live KY Go Digital we did on the Facebook page before, and also following the hashtag on KY Go Digital on Facebook and Twitter, which is the best ever.
And so everything, all those resources that we were talking about, that case study that Dr. Park that you said, I'm going to go ahead and put all of that stuff in our resources that are below this link, this video, so that you don't have to go and search for those things, as well as the slide deck that they shared for us today. But also, lastly, we're going to be rolling out Kentucky Go Digital regional dates in early spring, but we are very, again, excited to announce that we're going to have a new North Central Regional that is hosted by Bellarmine University, and that's going to be late next summer. So make sure that you write that down to look for future information. So don't forget that as you create, connect your good ideas to our hashtag so others can share them around the state. Until next time, Kentucky Go Digital.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.